The latest Nintendo Direct ended with an incredible new announcement. A brand new 2D Mario game, and not another new Super Mario Bros. That's right, Super Mario Bros. Wonder finally breathes new life into the side-scrolling platformers, bringing the Mario series back to its roots with brand new surprises. Between a lot of playable characters, a brand new art style, and of course, the elephant in the room, there is a lot to go over. So, you know what that means. It's time we pull out the old analysis machine to see what secrets and hidden details we can find. Let's get right into it by taking a look at the characters. Like many of the 2D Marios before, there were multiple characters to play as. Only this time, there's a lot more choice. Players can take control of Mario, Luigi, Yellow Toad, Princess Peach, Princess Daisy, and Yoshi. But that's not all, because we can see 4 players as different color Yoshis, adding red, yellow, and light blue Yoshis to the roster. So yeah, that's quite sizable. And player 1 isn't even forced to be Mario. We see most of these characters acting on their own, as well as 4 different Yoshis at once, and both Peach and Daisy on an adventure together. So even player 1 can play any character, seemingly at any time. But perhaps what's most interesting is that these characters all have something in common. Pretty much all of them were playable in the mobile game Super Mario Run, and back then, most of them had special attributes. While Mario was the standard balanced character, Luigi could jump higher, Toad could run faster, Peach could float. These are pretty much identical to their abilities in Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario 3D World, but Daisy, who was an unlockable character, had a double jump. And Yoshi, as well as the alternate colors of Yoshi, all had the flutter jump. The question is, could these be here in Super Mario Bros. Wonder? After all, we can see that Yoshi still has a flutter jump. Actually, let's take a minute to talk about Yoshi's abilities. Not only does he have the flutter jump, but other players can also ride him. That's a pretty big deal. As any other game that lets Mario ride Yoshi, it pretty much boils down to Yoshi being a power-up or an item. But now, he's a full-on playable character, and seemingly, whoever is playing as Yoshi keeps control when being ridden, as we can see from the jump and the flutter. Perhaps it's like the new Super Mario Bros. Games, where players can pick each other up. Speaking of, as a very quick note, we don't really see players interacting with each other in that way here. No grabbing, but also no bumping into each other or bouncing off of each other. So players won't be getting in each other's way, which is pretty nice. But back to Yoshi, he might just be a special character. If he can be ridden, and he's got his special flutter jump, he's one you may want to pick. So much so that perhaps that's exactly why there are 3 additional colors for Yoshi, in case all 4 players want to play as him. Who needs a new Yoshi game? We've got Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Jokes aside, this may be indicative of the rest of the playable cast. The trailer didn't show off any other abilities that might be unique to specific characters, except Yoshi's. And Yoshi seems to be the only character that has multiple color variations. So it's likely that the rest of the cast play identically, much like the main cast of characters in New Super Mario Bros. And they don't have their special abilities. So no floating for Peach or fast speed for Toad, but that's okay. And the different power-ups and abilities we see may support this as well. One of the new abilities we see involves the players leaping into the air and pulling out large hats to glide with. We see Mario specifically use his hat, and Luigi does the same in the key art. But Peach uses a similar styled hat, even branded with her emblem, yet still wears her crown. It's hard to say if this is a new power-up, as it doesn't seem to transform the characters at all, but just before they leap, there's a signpost with a hat paraglider depicted on it. We can't see much before it, but it seems to indicate that this can only be used in specific areas. So it's not a new power-up, and it likely isn't a brand new glide button that any character can activate whenever they want. So it's more like an item that can be used at specific times, even if we don't see them holding anything before leaping into the air. Regardless, being able to glide like this might invalidate the need for abilities such as Peach's glide if there are any situations like this that can be done by every character. There are some other power-ups and abilities that we see throughout this reveal trailer as well, such as the Super Mushroom at the very beginning and the Fire Flower. While we don't see the flower itself, we do see Mario in his fire form throwing fireballs in this boss battle, and Peach in her fire form as well. Only there's a small change this time around. Peach no longer puts her hair up in a ponytail when she has a fire flower, like she did in 3D World. Now her hair stays down. One of the brand new power-ups is currently unnamed, but it looks like an apple, with elephant ears, an elephant trunk, and of course the traditional eyes on Mario items. And this transforms Mario into an elephant. We don't really get to see what this ability can do, but we do see it swat away a Goomba with its trunk. It can't just be heavy, right? Well, in real life, elephants can't jump, so perhaps that's already one potential change with this ability. But what about it makes it super? The scene stops before this fountain, the fountain which has elephant statues inside. So perhaps this ability can interact with water using the trunk. Honestly, it's hard to say for sure right now. It's also yet to be seen how this ability affects the other playable characters. Will we be getting Elephant Luigi, Toad, Peach, and more? Or could it work a bit differently for them? Such as how the Super Leaf turns Mario into Tanuki Mario, but Luigi into Kitsune Luigi. Whatever happens, it likely needs to be functionally identical for all characters. The other brand new power-up we see is called a Wonder Flower, and as the name implies, it's basically the key mechanic here in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Wonder Flowers appear in set locations, with a sort of warped appearance to them. When touched, rather than specifically powering up Mario and company, it causes a variety of different reactions depending on the stage, and according to the UK page for the game, these are called Wonder Effects. This portal effect washes over the entire screen, creating a sort of dreamy ripple effect along the corners of the screen, one of two obvious indicators of Wonder Effects. The other one is this decimal point added to the purple coin counter. We'll go more in depth with the collectibles later, but basically, purple coins collected in Wonder Effects are worth 1/10, rather than a full 1. So between that and the corners of the screen, you'll be able to spot Wonder Effects when they're in play. We see a ton of Wonder Effects in this reveal trailer, and we're pretty sure they change depending on the level. So let's take a closer look at each one. First up, we see all of these pipes come alive and start moving. They all get eyes, many moving up and down, while the horizontal ones start moving along like inchworms. Next, we see a ton of these large purple hippos bounce around, including a much bigger one up here with a Wonder Seed for Mario to collect. Seemingly, Mario needs to use the smaller hippos to bounce high enough to get on the big one. Another point to note here is that this Wonder Effect seems to make a timer appear on the screen. It has a rainbowy effect as it counts down. Could all Wonder Effects only last for a limited time? Or do only some of them? Anyway, the next one we see makes everything rhythmically stretch and shrink, including Mario himself, which is pretty silly looking. Aside from stretching Mario out though, it's hard to say what else this one does. Maybe it'll stretch some platforms too? Anyway, moving on to the next one, we see the Wonder Effect is in play based on the corners of the screen and the purple coins. But what's the change? Well, since the previous Wonder Effect also changed Mario, it's reasonable to believe that some others may as well. And I think that's exactly what's happening here. Mario rolling around as a giant spiked ball isn't because of some power-up or item we've yet to see, he's this way because of the Wonder Effect. The very layout of the stage seems like it perfectly accommodates this form, with the talking plants even yelling "roll" at Mario. It also seems like part of the level itself, so it feels safe to say that these Wonder Effects can get pretty wacky. The next Wonder Effect we see brings in this herd of creatures that look a bit like blue Renzors, only their faces look more Koopa-like. But anyway, Mario can stand atop of the herd, riding along them and jumping for collectibles. And we can see that this is another timed Wonder Effect, as the herd takes out the ending flagpole. Or do they? This flag isn't a Bowser flag, and the icon on it looks similar to the weird Wonder Effect, so maybe it's all a fake. Regardless, this herd just keeps on going, so who knows how long the actual level even is. The next clip shows Mario back with the living warp pipes in the Wonder Effect, but as soon as he grabs the Wonder Seed collectible, the Wonder Effect ends, closing in around the seed like a portal closing. The level returns to normal, and the purple coin counter goes back to whole numbers. Oh, and the small purple coins disappear too. So it's very likely that some Wonder Seeds only spawn when a Wonder Flower is grabbed, triggering a Wonder Effect. For timed Wonder Effects, this means Mario has a limited amount of time to actually reach and obtain the Wonder Seed. Anyway, moving on to more Wonder Effects that we see, the players run into a bright yellow Wonder Flower, meaning they aren't always blue. Maybe they change color depending on the world. Regardless, this wonder effect puts the world at a slant, making this large spike ball roll out of place and begin to chase the players. The next wonder effect has players skydiving through the clouds, collecting coins. There's a timer up top, but what'll happen at the end of the timer in this case? Would cloudy platforms stop their descent? Or maybe it only makes the wonder seed appear, making it unobtainable if the timer runs out. The next wonder effect is pretty interesting, because it takes place during a boss battle. We'll come back to examine the specifics behind this Bowser Jr.-like enemy and the ensuing battle, but to focus in on the wonder effect specifically, it seems to involve shrinking and growing, alternating between Mario and the enemy. But what's most interesting is that the change seems to radiate from this enemy specifically, as he roars to trigger the change. Could enemies also enable wonder effects, rather than just from players grabbing wonder flowers? There are a couple more wonder effects to talk about. This large snowball rolling through the snowy level is likely the wonder effect for this level, taking in snowmen, pipes, and more to increase in size, while also destroying parts of the environment itself. And finally, during this clip with all 4 Yoshis, we're pretty sure the wonder effect takes the form of these long bullet bill-like missiles. We can tell there's one in effect thanks to the purple coin counter and the corners of the screen. These enemies have this notable blue sparkle around them, not to mention the rainbowy smoke. While they could just be projectiles fired from Bowser's castle in the background, they definitely seem connected to the current wonder effect. Okay, we're almost done talking about the wonder flowers and their effects, but there's a related element we need to touch upon. These smaller, glowing bulbs. They almost look like ungrown flowers, or like tiny piranha plants. They glow different colors, such as blue or red, and seem to do different, smaller things to each level. For the sake of this analysis, I'm gonna call them Wonder Buds. That's not the official name, of course, but I want to make a distinction between them and the larger Wonder Flowers. So Wonder Buds are scattered throughout different levels, and touching one brings about small change to the surrounding area. The first one we see Mario touch makes some coins spawn a little further ahead of him, as we can see by following the special effects. And this other one, near the first Wonder Flower, jumps down to the water, making the warp pipes appear under Mario. The very same warp pipes that, with wonder effects, come to life and start moving. However, once the wonder effects begin, the next Wonder Bud we see is actually closed. No longer floating in the air, no longer glowing, and now sitting on the ground, a pale white. Mario doesn't touch it, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't activate now. So it's likely that these little Wonder Buds trigger smaller events in the environment, but when a full wonder effect takes place, they close up, unable to activate. Another Wonder Bud we see activated is in this scene with Mario and Yoshi in the clouds. See these weird purple enemies flying around that need to be jumped over? Well, it looks like they're spawning in because Mario is activating the Wonder Buds. We can see that there isn't a wonder effect currently in play, but they have the same sort of magical effect around them. But what would that do here? Could Mario be meant to avoid the Wonder Buds in this case? Could defeating these enemies give a special reward? Or maybe special collectibles only spawn in with them? Regardless, we don't see many Wonder Buds get used in this reveal trailer, but it's clear that they too play a part in changing up these levels. Like many other Mario games, there are plenty of collectibles to find in a level. The traditional coins are scattered around, but there are more than those this time around. Purple coins, shaped like flowers, can also be found throughout the different levels, and when a wonder effect kicks in, smaller purple coins spawn. These are tiny, and worth 1/10 of a full purple coin. As we pointed out earlier, the purple coin counter even gets a decimal point added during wonder effects. But not only are there normal and tiny purple coins, there are also big ones. These big purple coins are also collectibles, worth 10 purple coins each. And as Mario collects one, this UI pops up in the corner, indicating that there were 3 per level, or at least 3 in this particular level. In any case, they're similar to the star coins from the new Super Mario Bros. Games. Well, kind of, at least. They don't seem to be the main collectible of a level that gets tracked in the world map. That honor is given to the Wonder Seeds. We touched upon them a little bit earlier, but Wonder Seeds seem to be the main collectible this time around, showing up for completing puzzles, and during wonder effects, seemingly for a limited amount of time, and seemingly at the end of levels as well. The world map indicates how many Wonder Seeds are in a level, and marks that they've been obtained. They also seem to change color depending on the world, since we've seen blue, yellow, and a sign for a light blue Wonder Seed on the world map. Speaking of the world map, let's take a closer look at it. We see Luigi in what seems to be World 1. at the very beginning of the game. The UI up top shows collected Wonder Seeds, coins, purple coins, and lives. Down on the bottom, the plus button seems to open a menu, while the L button makes some sort of word or image bubble pop up. Perhaps it's tied to these bubbles that display the level info when approached. Anyway, taking a look at these, we can see the Wonder Seeds in the lower left, the level difficulty displayed with a star rating on the right, and the name of the level up top, overlaid on the preview image for the level. The two levels we get a look at are Piranha Plants on Parade, which, coupled with the music blocks we can see in the preview image, might be a reference to Pink Elephants on Parade from Dumbo. And the other level we see is Welcome to the Flower Kingdom, which we can see has already been completed. The Wonder Seeds are already collected, and the ring around the level is a bright blue, with the path to the next level being lit up, whereas the Piranha Plants on Parade level is missing its Wonder Seeds, has a dark colored ring that glows a bright red, and a darkened path ahead, so it clearly has not been completed yet. But let's take a minute to talk about the implications of the name of this first level, the Flower Kingdom. Could that be the name of where this game takes place? Similar to how Super Mario 3D World took place in the Sprixie Kingdom. If this is the Flower Kingdom, it explains all the flower themes across every look at the game so far. The flower-shaped purple coins, Wonder Seeds and Wonder Flowers, and so much more throughout the levels themselves. But perhaps even bigger, could this explain why Daisy has a playable role in the game? After all, Daisy's whole imagery is flowers. So could they be retconning Sarasaland to instead be the Flower Kingdom? Well, probably not. And that would be due to this little Prince Wiggler looking character, who we'll be talking more about in part 2 of this analysis. So no, Daisy likely does not rule this kingdom, but she may have some sort of stake in its safety due to her love of flowers. There's one other important detail about the Flower Kingdom though. It's a neighbor to the Mushroom Kingdom. In this first level, we can actually see the Mushroom Kingdom off in the distance across the water, with those iconic mushrooms and mountains. Before we wrap up this first part of our analysis, let's take a look at the key art of the game, as it may actually reveal some new details. We see Mario holding the Wonder Flower, with the entire sequence behind him being a Wonder effect. Elephant Mario coming out of a pipe, Luigi using the gliding hat, Yoshi holding a red shell, which confirms they can be held and not just kicked, and 2 particular points of interest. Firstly, this purple question block. Could it just dispense purple coins when hit? Or maybe it's a special question block that only appears with the Wonder effect. Anyway, the second point of interest is this Goomba. It's got a blue Toad hat on, but why? Did something happen to Blue Toad? Well, remember how we think some Wonder effects can make characters transform? Like Long Mario or the spike ball rolling around? So what if one effect turns everyone into Goombas? The Wonder Flower can seemingly do anything, and if that's the case, maybe Blue Toad is a playable character too. He may not have any unique abilities like Yoshi, but that means there are likely at least 2 playable colors of Toad here. And that's going to close out part 1 of our in-depth analysis on Super Mario Bros. Wonder. There are a ton of details here about the playable cast, power-ups and abilities, the Wonder Flower, and so much more. But don't worry, we'll soon be back with part 2 of this analysis, where we'll take a closer look at the world structure, every individual level, break down all the enemies, go over some NPCs like this Prince Wiggler, these Toad-like characters, and these talking flowers, as well as go more in-depth with the brand new art style and its hand-drawn inspirations. But with that, thank you all so much for watching part 1 of this analysis. What do you think of our findings? Did we miss something that you think needs pointing out? Let us know down below, and stay tuned to GameXplain for plenty more on Super Mario Bros. Wonder, including part 2 of this analysis very soon. Until next time, farewell.